Hello everybody, I'm sorry I'm not here with you again. I didn't want to keep giving you Khan Academy videos because I know sometimes those are confusing, and I know that some of you struggle a little bit with the assignment I left on Monday for trigonometry. Maybe you didn't understand anything, maybe you were like, I got this, I don't need anybody to explain it to me. But anyway, I want to make sure that everybody understands this because in my opinion trigonometry is easy. But if you don't get the right explanation, then you're going to get confused. And this is the part of our final test that we need to make sure that we get right, because this is very, very easy. So I want to go over the lesson. You should have your worksheets with you. If you turn it into the sub, then ask them for the paper back so you can fix anything if you have to. I'm not going to go over the whole lesson. I will go over a couple of things only and maybe some questions from the independent practice. So please pay attention and then try to finish that independent practice that you have. I'm not giving you an extra assignment today. I just really need you to focus on listening and trying to understand this, because this is very important. Also remember, your calculators when you're working with trigonometry must be on degrees, not in radians. So make sure that you're not making that mistake. So we will talk about that in a second. Okay, so let's gonna start. We already talked about this, guys. You should know already what is an opposite, what is an adjacent, what is a hypotenuse, but you have this in here. You should have it on your paper as well. So please don't lose that paper because it's really important. Now, again, sorry. We should know already how to find the opposite side, the adjacent side, the hypotenuse. Just gonna go quickly for A, for angle A. This is my angle A. The opposite side of A is this one. That's A. I'm sorry guys, my horrible stylus pen is not working. I have a pen dedicated for computer and it decided not to work today. So that's how things happen. Now the adjacent side for angle A will be B, and the hypotenuse will be C. You should know this already, guys, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. So these are the answers. You should have this with you guys. I know some of you maybe didn't see it, but I'm pretty sure you noticed that I shared this with you already. So trigonometric ratios, guys, you should know this. It was on the board. It should be in your notebooks. The sine is the opposite of the hypotenuse. The cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, and tangent is opposite of the adjacent. You have them with you, guys. You have this paper with you. Use it. Now, these are the ratios. That's what we worked with last week. So I don't think, guys, I need to go over this too much. I'm just going to do the first one for t, and then we move on. Remember, t is the angle. So sine for t will be opposite over the hypotenuse. So the opposite will be 8. The hypotenuse is 17. Oops, it looks like an 11. That's a 17. Now, the cosine of t will be adjacent over hypotenuse. So that's 15 over 17. And then tangent will be opposite. That is 8 over adjacent. Honestly, guys, I expect every one of you to have this already done. So I'm just going to move on. These are the answers, just in case. You have the T and you have the G angles, okay? Now, okay, so I needed to cut the video for a second because my dog, hopefully you heard my dog like breathing when I was talking and before. That wasn't me, it was my dog. He's just started barking at that cat, so when I listen back to the audio, it sounds really bad, so probably you're gonna get deaf because of that, so I needed to cut that out. So going back to this, we're gonna use SOHCAHTOA pyramids. So the triangles or the pyramids, however you wanna call it. I like to call them triangles because they look like triangles to me. To determine when you're gonna multiply, when you're gonna divide, and how to find in an easier way your missing value. So for example, when we have a right triangle and you're looking for the opposite side, let's say we're gonna use this as an example with the yellow, the sign information. If we have a right triangle, let's say you have a right triangle, right? This is my right triangle. I know, let's say the hypotenuse is 10. That's a 10. I have the angle given. They have to give you the angle. I'm just going to use an X for the angle right now. I'm not going to actually do it. I'm just going to show you. And you're looking for the hypotenuse. Well, let's gonna make it a little bit more realistic. Instead of an X, let's say the angle is, I don't know, 30 degrees. Imagine that's a beautiful 3, guys. This is a 30 degrees. And you're looking for a side, the opposite side of that angle. So what you're gonna do is, if you're not sure how to do it, I'm gonna show you both ways. I'm gonna show you the equation way, when you just have your equation and then you solve it using the equation, or I'm going to show you how to do it with the triangles. So the triangles basically tells you that if you're looking for the opposite in this case, oh my gosh, guys, my brain's not working. I don't like to be sick. In this case, the opposite is X. So if I'm looking for the opposite, I'm going to cover in the triangle. So I have my triangle right here. I'm going to cover my opposite with my hand. So that's what they're doing here. And you're gonna have left the sine times the hypotenuse. How do I know it's times? Because they're next to each other. It's like when you have a 3x, you know that they're next to each other, so that's multiplication. If they are on top of each other like this, that's division. See? If you cover the hypotenuse, you're gonna have them one on top of each other. And just like you have it here, you will divide the opposite divided by the tangent. Okay, so bear with me, guys. I'm going to give you a couple of examples, but for now, just know if you cover what is missing, you always cover what is missing, and you have them next to each other, like in the yellow, sine times hypotenuse, you're going to find the sine of the angle. So in this case, you will do sine of 30 multiplied by 10. So you don't need to give me a full equation. You can just do it in the calculator. I'm going to do it on mine. So you will do sine of 30 multiplied by 10. And you should get 5. So that means that the opposite side will be equals to 5. Now, obviously, I always ask you to show me your work. So I don't need to see a full equation, but I need to see this. I need to see that you know that you're multiplying, or I need to see that you're dividing. So for example, if I'm looking for, I'm going to use tangent now. I have the same, another right triangle, right? And I have given the opposite. Let's say this is 30 again. I don't have the adjacent. The adjacent is missing. That's your X. And the opposite, we find out that it was 5, right? We had a 5. So we're going to use the formula that it says over here that we're going to divide the opposite divided by the tangent. So the opposite will be 5. So we divide 5 divided by the tangent of 30. When you're doing your calculator, this tangent of 30, you have to put 30 first and then tangent. And then you have to click equal. If you don't click equal, you're going to get a weird answer. So 5 divided by tangent of 30. And you get 5, well, you should get 8.66. In my calculator, I get the simplified version, like I get the square root. In that case, if you have it with the square root, you will have 5 square root of 3. That's a simplified version, but your calculator would not give you that. So don't worry about it. It should be 8.66. Okay? 8.66. So these are just random examples that were not on your paper, and I'm doing it on purpose. I'm sorry, guys. Sorry that you have to hear this, but I'm not going to edit this video. I giving you random examples so you guys have a better idea, and that way I know that you actually listen to the video. Moving on. We have this example. I'm hoping you guys did it, but if not, I'm going to explain it because, again, I want to make sure that you understand. First question say, which trigonometric function should you use to find the value of x? So x is a side. We have 18 as the angle, 18 degrees, and x is a leg. So we know 25 is the hypotenuse. And then in relationship to 18, x is the adjacent. Okay? So what trigonometric function should you use? So you have to use the one that has the adjacent and the hypotenuse. So we're going to use cosine. Okay, we have the triangle in there that we're going to use. And then he say, write an equation to find x in the above figure. So you're looking for the adjacent. That's what you're looking for. So that's what you're going to cover, right? We're going to cover the adjacent with your hand. Let me just make it beautiful for you. We're going to have a beautiful hand. A hand, 1, 2, 3, 4 is a weird hand. So you're going to cover A with your hand, and you're going to have left cosine times the hypotenuse. So your formula, I'm going to write it right here because I need space. Cosine of your angle, don't forget your angle, multiplied by the hypotenuse, that is 25, will be equals to your adjacent. Okay? So you don't need to do a lot of steps, guys. Just write it down as it is, and then put cosine of 18 on your calculators. You put 18 first, and then you click cosine times 25, and you get 23.77. And then it says, what is the value of x? I'm sorry, guys. What is the value of x in the above figure? So approximately 24. If you want to round it like 24 degrees, I want to keep it as 23.8 to make it a little bit more accurate. Okay. Now, I told you I was going to show you both ways, how to do it with the triangles and how to do it with the normal equation. Sorry, guys. I need to pause for a second to breathe. So the normal equation will be, in my opinion, the triangles are easier, but if you want to work with the formal equation, you know that cosine of an angle, so in this case will be 18, is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse. So this is why it gets a little bit longer, because you normally write the equation first. So cosine of 18 is equal to adjacent, that is x, over hypotenuse, that is 25. And then what you have to do, you have x over 25, 25 is being divided, so I need to multiply by 25 on both sides. This cancels, and then you have the same thing, 25 just in a different order times the cosine of 18. Exactly the same thing we had before. So we're cutting these steps, and we go directly to that multiplication. So I think triangles will be easier, and then once you get this, you solve it with your calculator, and you should get the same answer. So use the triangles, guys. Those are easier. Now, this is the answer. They put 23.78. I didn't round that before, but I did round it to 23.8. So they keep it as 23.78. So let's going to keep it as it is. Now we're going to find the value of y. My recommendation for you guys, when you have a question like this, try to use the values that were given already and not the values that you find out or the values that are rounded. Why? Because if you use a value that it was rounded, you might not get the precise answer. So I'm going to try to avoid using that x. I'm going to just use the 25 and the 18. That's it. I don't need anything else. So in this case, y is opposite to 18, so I'm going to use sine. So I'm looking for the opposite. I'm going to cover my O, and I have this left. That means that I'm going to multiply the sine of 18 multiply by 25. Easy peasy, guys. You don't need a lot of steps. So 25, I'm going to multiply sine of 18. So sine of 18 times 25. And you get 7.73. Approximately 7.73. That's what we got here. See, guys, literally 2 steps. That's all you need to do. So we have another question over here. It says to find the value of y. Now for this question, we have options, but we don't have all the information that we need to use all those options. We have a 28, we have an 18, we have 62, I'm sorry. Try to identify your parts, guys. Y is the hypotenuse. Okay, so I'm missing the hypotenuse. So I have to use one of these two because I'm missing the hypotenuse. It's your decision which one you want to use. If you want to use sine, just make sure that you have your your opposite. So if I use 28, degrees here. The number that I have next to 28 is my adjacent. So I cannot use sine for that. I can use cosine for that. But if I still want to use sine, instead of using 28, you can just use 62, because 18 is opposite to 62. So that will be my opposite side. So I can use sine. So I'm missing the hypotenuse. So I'm going to cover my hypotenuse here with my hand. And I'm going to have left opposite over sine. My opposite is my side. So 18 is my opposite divided by the sine of 62. That will be your hypotenuse. They're using a capital H, so let's gonna use a capital H. So 18 in the calculator, I'm gonna put 18 divided by the sine of 62, and that's approximately 20.39. Now I'm gonna check now if I use 28 and 62 to see if I get the same answer, right? This was an H, by the way. So I'm going to use it now with cosine. I'm going to use cosine of 28. Again, I'm looking for my hypotenuse, so I'm going to divide my adjacent. My adjacent will be 18. That's a horrible 18. Divided by the cosine of 28. So I have 18 divided by cosine of 28. And I get 20.39. Exactly the same thing, guys. So it doesn't matter which one do you use, you should get the same answer. Okay, so we're done with this. Give me a second. I'm gonna pause and I'm gonna quickly upload the independent practice so I can maybe go over 1 or 2 questions from there. Okay, guys, for the independent practice, this, I'm not gonna go over this. You should know how to find the ratio already. You find the ratio of sine, cosine, and tangent. So just put what is your opposite over hypotenuse, what is adjacent over hypotenuse, what is opposite over tangent, over opposite over adjacent. And that's for angle T. You should do it and you should simplify your fractions, okay? So you do that all by yourself. Now, same thing here. You have the ratios for sine, cosine, and tangent for m. I know we have square roots, guys. I want to go over number 3 that has the first square root. So you have m. We need to find the sine of m. So sine of m is equal opposite over hypotenuse. Opposite will be 4 square root of 2. Okay? And then hypotenuse should be 9. You're done. Okay? Don't be scared by that square root. Okay? There's nothing wrong with that. Now cosine is adjacent. So 7 over 9. Done. And then tangent of m. That should be, oopsie. That should be tangent of m. That is your opposite over your adjacent. That's it, guys. It doesn't matter that you have a square root. It didn't change anything. It's just your number looks weird. That's it. And I'm missing a 9 here. So don't be afraid of square roots, guys. I will discuss how you should solve a question when you have a square root of the denominator of a fraction, but that will be later on. Now, for these questions, guys, you should know how to do this. They're not telling you which formula to use. You have to decide that by yourself. And that's where this comes handy, okay? Use this. Use that to solve those questions. So, here, I'm not going to go over these questions, guys. I'm just going to tell you, you have x. X is the opposite to 35. So, you should use sine for that, right? X is the adjacent to 41. So, which one you should use? And remember that the hypotenuse is always opposite to the right angle, okay? The hypotenuse is always opposite to a right angle. So, here, we don't have the hypotenuse given. So in this case, you have to use tangent. So you have to do this by yourself, guys. You should be able to do it. I told you to skip number 11, so don't worry about that one. Same thing with these 3, guys. It should not be that hard after you saw my video. Now, these are the ones that maybe you guys got a little bit confused. So I will discuss these 2 with you once I'm back, because right now I feel it's going to go too fast. for you to understand. So it's okay if you didn't get to do 12 on 13. Just remember, I cannot use trigonometry if my triangle is not a right triangle. Okay? So I cannot use trigonometry in that triangle. So you need to be careful. But I'm going to go over this. If you try, guys, go ahead. I can check once I'm back to see if you did it right. But try, okay? Try your best. And that's all, guys. Please, please, please try to do as much as you can. It's okay if you don't get to do 12 or 13. I think 13 might be a little bit easier. So try to do it. And just do your best, guys. I believe in you. Oopsie. Bye-bye, guys.